everybody. It's Plant-Based Life and Style. Thanks for being with me today. I'm Elysabeth Alfano, and I have a great show for you today because, you do not need to be eating turkey for Thanksgiving. I've got a bunch of tips to get you through Thanksgiving in the veganest, kindest way possible. But it's going to taste super good. We're going to get into it with the CEO and co-founder of COO and co-founder of Veestro.com, Monica Klausner. She's going to join me in just a second. But before we get into all the delicious ways you are going to get through Thanksgiving, I do want to read the news. So here I go. Put on my sexy librarian glasses and let's get into it. Hey, everybody, it's the Plant-Based Business Minute. I'm Elysabeth Alfano. Each week, I break down the top headlines in a minute or less. So let's get into it. The best news I have had all year. Edison Kearney has done a market research report on the meat market. Not the plant-based market over here and the meat market over here, but the meat market, including three major players: meat, old-fashioned meat, plant-based meat, and cellular agriculture products. Their study predicts that in 19 years, in less than 2 decades, cellular meat and plant-based meat will be 60% of the meat market. My business bottom line here, which is also really my good news, is that in under 2 decades, the majority of the meat market will not include animals. The very good butchers also have some very good news. They landed on the Canadian stock market in June of this year, but now they're on the American stock market. They're on the OTCQB, which is the over-the-counter exchange for smaller businesses that are young, and they now join the likes of Beyond Meat, the Natural Order Acquisition Corporation, Else Baby Food, Meat Tech 3D, Laird Superfood, and many others that are globally traded. My business bottom line here is that as plant-based businesses get bigger, you will see more and more options, particularly around this time next year, publicly traded on the stock market. Speaking of bigger, perhaps you've heard of Unilever. That's right. They've got Ben & Jerry's, they've got Hellmann's, they've got the Vegetarian Butcher. Unilever is saying that within the next 5 to 7 years, they're going to grow their plant-based business to $1 billion a year. And this is what Henneke Faber has this to say from Unilever. As one of the world's largest food companies, we have a critical role to play to transform the global food system. My business bottom line here is that we all have a critical role to play to transform the global food system, from the consumer to the small plant-based business to the large multinational. We all play a critical role. So let's get to work. This has been the Plant-Based Business Minute. If you would like a deeper dive into plant-based business, please subscribe to the Plant-Based Business Hour wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are a small plant-based business or large meat and dairy, and you are looking to navigate the plant-based landscape, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. My team and I at Plant Power Consulting are here to help you with media, marketing, communication strategy, and so much more. Until I see you again next week, remember that together we are taking back our health, the health of the planet, and the health of our bottom line. I love to do the news. I love to rattle off all the good news, and there is just so much of it these days. I got to tell you, that Edison Kearney report just kind of fried my vegan burger, to put it lightly. It's such great news. Okay, but more good news is that we are going to get through Thanksgiving in the kindest and tastiest way possible, which means, of course, we're not going to have turkey. So I want to bring in, I think I said COO before, but really I should have said CMO, right? Chief Marketing Officer, Monica Klausner of Veestro.com, which is a wonderful, beautiful service delivering the vegan goods, already made meals right to your doorstep. Monica, thanks for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I know Veestro.com because I have used it a bunch and I love it. But for those folks who might not know, just give us the rundown. What exactly is Veestro.com?
Sure. So Veestro makes 100% plant-based meals, and we deliver them straight to people's doors anywhere in the US. They're fully prepared, and they're made with the best organic ingredients in the market. So that's what we do.
Yes. And I can say, I just want to show people, those of you who, I know some of you are on radio, but those of you who are watching on Facebook, I'm sharing my screen now so that you can see really some of the delicious options that they have. There are quite a few choices here. And I love that you say that the ingredients are organic. But I just, for anyone who has ever said at any point in time in their life, oh my God, what do vegans eat? It's just a crazy question. So here I'm looking at the website. So herb crusted turkey, turkey scallopini dinner, cauliflower Milanese dinner, holiday shepherd's pie. Now, I haven't tried that one, so I'm going to have to get into that. Country fried chicken, so Turkish meatballs, just barbecue chicken pizza. So, I don't want to hear it, people. I do not want to hear that you don't know what vegans eat, because vegans eat really tasty, great food. That's what they eat. But okay, not everybody has time to cook. So that's what I love about Veestro.com. It comes right to your door. So how does it work? Do you order like a month in advance, or tell me the routine?
Sure. So you go on our website, you can order in 3 different ways. You can order a la carte, so you pick and choose whatever you want. You can order a chef's choice, so it's basically a preset pack, or you can order a weight loss. Once you place your order, your shipment will go out anywhere between 1 and 3 days after you place your order, and it will
Okay.
arrive anywhere between 1 and 3 days at your door.
Wow. So you can really have a sense for your week and say, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this week just isn't going to happen. I've got Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after
Yeah.
Zoom meeting. And you know that you can't cook, or you can't get to the grocery store, or if you can't get to the grocery store, sometimes, you'll put stuff in your Instacart and then it won't come. And you'll be like, okay, well, now what am I supposed to do? So this is great. You can kind of help prepare your life. I'll say one of the things that I liked about it is when I do cook, and I do love to cook. So, shout out to myself. Everybody can go to elizabeth.com/recipes. I tend to like my cooking so much that I tend to overeat it. So if I'm making myself lasagna, I don't stop at one piece of lasagna. I say, well, oh, hey, my lasagna is really good. And then I have 2 pieces. So what I loved about Veestro is it also helped me with quantity control.
Yeah, it's great. Everything is a single serving, so you can really monitor your intake of food that way.
Yes. Do you get a lot of people who are coming to you, not for convenience, but maybe, let's say, to shed some pounds or to watch their life that way?
Yeah, we have a lot of customers who come up to us for the weight loss plan. And then once they're done with their weight loss goal, they just stick with it because it's so easy. It might not be an everyday thing or an every meal thing, but it's definitely great for those days when you're just so busy or you're so tired, you just can't find the time to cook.
And most people who check in with you, are they buying for a family, or are they buying for themselves because the rest of their family is not plant-based and so they need to figure out their own situation, or is it usually a family situation?
So it's a big mix of, the single young professionals and the parents who want to feed their kids better food, and the moms
Mhm.
who are cooking for their kids and their families, perhaps not plant-based food, but they're eating plant-based food. So it's a big mix of different types of people.
Ah. I love that. I love that moms that are thinking about their kids and trying to work out that happy medium.
Mhm.
And to me, it's so, because I have a sister show called the Plant-Based Business Hour, and I talk about business a lot and have the consulting agency. So I'm working with brands all the time. And I'm always curious, this kind of market research, like, who really is that consumer? Because lots of times we think it's vegans and it's not vegans. It's people who
It's not.
are just looking to cut back on the meat, or is that what you're finding?
We find that about 55% of our customers are vegan, so a good 45% of our customers are not, which is really exciting because these are people who are interested in eating more plant-based. And so it's exciting to see how the world is sort of shifting in the way
Mhm.
that we eat and the way that we think about our food.
Mhm. And it's so exciting that it's not the people that you'd think. It's the people that
Right.
you thought they'd never come over to the other side. They'd
Mhm.
never get the message. They'd never see it. And then here they are, hats off to them, really leading the charge. I mean, the
Yeah.
reason we're getting major change around the globe, and I love my vegan friends, do not get me wrong, but it's not vegans. It's meat eaters who are saying, oh, well, I'm not going to hold a sign and like tell the world about it. But yeah, I'm going to order from Veestro because it's tasty and it's healthier.
Yeah. And a lot of times what happens with people who are not vegan is that they don't really know how to make vegan food or how to make food without animal proteins. And
Mm-hmm.
so for them, it's a lot easier to order something that's already prepared so they don't have to think about it. They
Mm-hmm.
just order it and eat it.
Yes. And I also love that it sort of shows people the way. So if they didn't have ideas about what could be put together
Right.
before, now maybe they are thinking, oh, I could do kind of a bowl with rice and avocado and beans and some sauteed peppers and, my favorite hot sauce and go to town, twice a week. I mean, I'm hoping it becomes 3 times a week or 4 times a week, but,
Yes.
at least as a starter to kind of ratchet back the meat intake. And that makes a big difference globally speaking. If everybody cut back 2 or 3 times a week, you're starting to see major differences.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. Well, we are going to head to break here in a second, come back right after commercial break. But I do want to ask you, what kind of a tailwind have you gotten from COVID?
Oh my gosh. So it's been really interesting to see that when COVID hit, everybody was sort of panicking about how they're going to get food. So we saw a huge uptick, and then we've been pretty steady since. So it's pretty good.
So it hasn't dropped off.
No.
The reason I asked that is because I know that there was a huge surge, something I'm quoting the Plant-Based Foods Association, 255% increase in plant-based meats over 53% for regular meats when people were sort of hoarding food in March. But you're
Yeah.
saying it stepped up and people are continuing it.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
great.
I just love this. Okay, we are going to head to break, but when we get back from break, we're going to talk about some of the nutritional and health reasons that people might be doing just that. Hold tight and keep it locked. It's Plant-Based Life and Style with Elysabeth Alfano. We'll be right back after break. Oh my gosh, everybody on Facebook. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Monica's such an awesome guest. And I'm telling you, I've had Veestro. They're so delicious. If you can't cook a week or two here or there, definitely go and check it out because it's so great. Shout out to all the folks on Twitter and YouTube. We got a great audience today. Carol, thanks for being here. Tina, Daniel, Tom. And we're back. It's Plant-Based Life and Style. I'm Elysabeth Alfano. I have a fantastic guest with me today, Monica Klausner from Veestro.com, which is a home delivery service of really tasty vegan meals delivered right to your doorstep. So if you're busy, just don't even bother sweating it. Just order from Veestro. I should say, hold on, order from Veestro and put in the code Alfano and get 20% off. So
That's
I don't
right.
know why. I'm going to put that in the notes here. Put in the code Alfano, everybody, and you will get 20% off your order. So you can order from Veestro and then get 20% off, which is so great. Okay, Monica, what are you thinking some of the reasons so COVID gave us this uptick? People worried about where am I going to get my food and will I have it when I need it and will there be runouts? But there's also been a huge uptick in people's concerns about their health. Talk to me a little bit about that and what you're seeing on your end.
It's very interesting to see how things have really shifted throughout COVID.
Mm-hmm.
For one, obviously everybody was in a panic. And then also everybody wants to be healthier because God forbid they should get COVID, they stand a better chance of recovering. So we've seen a big shift in the types of consumers that we are getting.
Yeah.
Perhaps we weren't getting a lot of these consumers before because they weren't so concerned, but now it's front and center. Health is a big thing, especially plant-based eating, vegan eating, and reducing the amount of meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this. So we've talked about this a lot on this show. Meat and dairy, the cause of a lot of chronic lifestyle diseases, really. They're not genetic diseases. They're not things you're born with. They're things
Mhm.
that you've inherited as we have inherited. I don't have perfect habits either. I mean, I'm vegan, but I could get rid of sugar and other things. These habits that we've inherited have brought us to an unhealthy lifestyle. So you're seeing diseases like diabetes and obesity and heart disease. All of these things can be changed and reversed with lifestyle changes like diet, cutting out meat, cutting out dairy, also cutting out heavily processed foods. So Monica was talking about organic foods and really healthy foods in their meal delivery service. And I am just making a note here that you can get 20% off by putting in Alfano in. If you're choosing to order some stuff, you can get 20% off by putting in the code Alfano at vistro.com. So what else have you seen through COVID? Again, I think this is so interesting from like a market research standpoint. What else are customers telling you that they want? Have you shifted your business model at all?
We haven't actually, because people want contactless delivery, which we have. We deliver the packages through FedEx, so they get dropped off at your front door and nobody's there. So contactless delivery, healthy eating, more plant-based, less meat. So all of these things have contributed to our uptick, but we haven't really had to change our business model, which has been amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing because you were really in the right place at the right time. I mean, you had everything that COVID was going to need and you were turnkey that day. So
Yeah.
a lot of you keeping that business, you had that uptick in March and you've kept it is because you were able to execute flawlessly. So people didn't have any onboarding issues. It just went flawlessly from day one.
Right.
But
we've had a couple of issues with shipping because, of course, nothing is perfect. And FedEx is really struggling to keep up with the amount of packages that are being sent.
Of course.
But other than that, I have to say we've been pretty lucky that we were right there, the right place at the right time.
And are you finding yourself just working 24/7? Like, how is it taking a toll on you?
Yeah. I work a lot. We work a lot. My brother also works a lot. He's the CEO of the company. But I have 3 kids and 2 dogs and a husband. And so I really try my best, come 7 p.m., shut down my phone, spend some family time. And then if I need to go back to work, which usually I do, at 10 p.m. when the kids go to bed, I'll get back to work. Because there are a lot of things I can do during the evenings that don't require customer contact.
Yes. Sometimes the evenings, I mean, it's a bad habit in a way, but sometimes the evenings are even better because you don't have the phone ringing and so many other distractions. Yes. You can sort of power through and get a lot done. So, okay, you've got this great idea sort of before the whole world was doing home delivery and even vegan home delivery. I'll say you and your brother started Veestro, but you have a fun and interesting story. So how did you get to here? Why did you start Veestro?
My brother actually, it was his idea. He started thinking about a better way to eat. When he was an investment banker, he used to come home really late and had no time to eat. And he found himself eating a lot of processed food and a lot of junk. And so he used to call me and complain all the time. And I didn't really have an answer for him because I'm not a big cook. So I was also relying on a lot of processed food for my family. So one day he called me and he said, I have this idea. What do you think? Do you think young professionals will gravitate to it? And I thought it was brilliant to deliver homemade food or food that tastes like homemade straight to people's doors and have it be plant-based. The reason we chose plant-based is because at that time, and we're talking 8 years ago, we were both reading the China study.
Oh, great.
And
yes.
I'm sure everybody knows, but for those who don't know, the China study is the largest scientific study of why a plant-based diet is the better way to live. So we were both reading it, and it just felt like the right thing to do. Plus, we come from Costa Rica, so we are used to eating lots of fruits and veggies and all the food made from scratch. So it really helped us visualize what our business would look like when we thought about eating food, delivering food that we would get at home. So we started it in 2012 and it's been going strong since.
My gosh, you've been at this since 2012. That to me is so impressive. Really kind of one of the leaders here long before other people kind of hopped on the bandwagon. And now with COVID, I think you're just going to see this more and more. I don't know when people will really be going back to restaurants in any kind of serious way. There was an uptick in cooking there for a while with COVID. In the beginning, the whole world was baking. But even that, as businesses have just sort of said, okay, strap on your pajama bottoms and get in front of the Zoom computer. Businesses meetings are just all the time, and it's not that easy for people to cook anymore. So I think your business model is, set for quite a while here. So very exciting for you. And again, everybody, I'm going to say, put in the code Alfano to get 20% off. We're going to head to break, and we'll be right back on Plant-Based Life and Style. Woo! I had almost forgotten the code. Oh my word.
I'm so glad you remembered.
Yes. And it's also on my website. So yeah, you guys, I'm not just saying this. I'm having Monica on today because I have tried it myself and I really do love it. And I was blown away. Particularly, I liked the enchiladas the best, but we'll talk about it when we come back from break. What are the meals that are most popular? Hey, it's Plant-Based Life and Style. I'm Elysabeth Alfano, and we are back with Monica Klausner of Veestro.com. So the reason I'm having Monica on is because I love Veestro. I've tried it myself. All the meals are so delicious. Home delivery right to your doorstep. No touch, it's all COVID perfect. And you can get your vegan meals and not have to cook and not have to sweat it for you and your family. Put in the code Alfano for 20% off. So we were talking right before break about your business model and having started in 2012. And I'm wondering now with COVID, have you seen, or even maybe not COVID, but what are the meals that just fly right out the door?
Well, right now, being that Thanksgiving is right around the corner, we have our Thanksgiving meals, our holiday meals that are just flying off the shelves, literally. And they're really delicious. We only bring them back over the holidays. And so they're on our website from November 1st to the end of December. And they're right at the top, the herb-crusted turkey, turkey scallopini, cauliflower Milanese, holiday shepherd's pie. And we have one more coming next week called the Hearty Seasonal Bowl. Ooh. So it's delicious. It just has all sorts of veggies. It's really, really, really hearty and good. So those are the most popular meals right now. In general, the enchilada is definitely one of the most popular meals. People seem to really enjoy it. The red curry with tofu and veggies, which is actually very surprising because not everybody's into curry, but it's one of our most popular meals. And the country fried chicken dinner, the Tuscan calzone, there's a lot.
Yes. The country fried chicken dinner. I got to say that I did like that one as well. But it's really the enchiladas that kind of stay with me that I sort of dream of. When I think of Costa Rican food, you were mentioning before that you and your brother are from Costa Rica. Now, is it your folks that are from Costa Rica or you yourself were born there?
We were born there, both of us. We were born there and raised, and we came out to the US for college, and then we stayed.
Wow. So when I think of Costa Rican food, I do think of, like you say, fruits and vegetables and lots of rice and beans. Is it also a heavy meat culture?
Not really.
Okay.
It was a little bit different back when we were growing up because meat was really expensive back then. So we would eat meat maybe once or twice a week because it was so expensive. Now it's a little bit different. And so what happens is you'll look at the plate, and in Costa Rica, there's a very common dish that a lot of people eat called a casado, like married. It literally translates into the married. And the way that this dish is composed looks a lot like a vegan meal. It's a lot of different side dishes. So it's rice and beans and plantains, maybe some pasta, maybe some green veggies, and a piece of meat, but not the center of the plate, just like a side. So it's very interesting that it's very, very similar to the way we eat now, or I eat now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love what you're saying about this. There's a program called Default Veg, and they're trying to get institutions primarily to shift up just the placement of meat. So if people want meat, that's fine, but it's going to be at the end of the buffet. Up front is going to be vegetables and rice and whole grains. Maybe there won't even be meat and dairy in the buffet. You can have it, but you just have to ask for it. That way, it's default. So it's healthy options first rather than the other way around. You've got these unhealthy options at the beginning of every, university cafeteria or the Google cafeteria or whatever. You've got the like cheesy, heavy, oily stuff first. Oh, and then if somebody wanted it, they could put together a salad for themselves over there down the end of the buffet. But that's, really the wrong logic there. So they're trying to implement this from an institutional standpoint. And I think it's so critical how we organize our plates of food, because it really tells our brain what should be the most important thing. And the most important thing should be the things, now we're back to COVID, the things that keep you healthy. So those whole grains, that whole food, plant-based diet. And healthy doesn't have to mean not tasty. I mean, Veestros sort of the proof of the pudding for that. So it's this whole shift that we're going through culturally as we step away from meat for our health and for the planet. You're just going to start to see things like the grocery store real estate change, as plant-based options are going to be much easier to find, and how we curate our plate, I think, is going to be different as well.
Yes.
Well, okay. So as we gear up towards Thanksgiving, I'm wondering if you have any tips. Of course, bistro.com, just order for your whole family for Thanksgiving. That's done and done. But beyond Veestro, where you can put in the code Alfano and get 20% off, beyond Veestro.com, what are your tips for people trying to stay vegan during Thanksgiving?
I would say my biggest tip is to stay with the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Skip the turkey and go to the sides, because most of the time, even when you're at a place where the people are not necessarily vegan, even then, most of the sides are vegan. If not, they're vegetarian. You have the green beans and you have the sweet potato, and even the stuffing doesn't usually have any meat. So if you stick to the sides, you should be okay. That's one. The second tip I have is load up on veggies before you go. So if you're going somewhere, have some carrots, some cucumbers, some celery, have a small meal that's what you like to eat before you get there. That way, two things happen. One, you're not stuffing yourself with food, which we all do on Thanksgiving. I don't know why.
I know.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Something about Thanksgiving that just gives us permission to overeat and indulge.
Yeah. And then feel bad. Like, ow.
Yes. Exactly.
Why? Okay. Yeah.
So it allows you to not overeat, and also it helps you stick to your dietary restrictions or stick to being vegan. That way you don't feel compelled to to hit that turkey or to hit that I don't know, marshmallow covered pie. I don't know. All those delicious things.
Yes. So I totally love what you're saying. Again, for those of you who do want to cook, and a lot of people do take a lot of pride on Thanksgiving that they're going to really make absolutely everything, right down to cranberry sauce, which vegan, they're going to make it themselves. So you can hit up my website, ElysabethAlfano.com/recipes. But I love that all the sides, I mean, sweet potatoes, as you were saying, green beans. I do a mashed potato as well with olive oil and sauteed onions and capers, which is super good. And then I know like the whole hearty rice dishes. I do a mushroom risotto that obviously is vegan, and then pumpkin pie is vegan. Just, make the pumpkin with pumpkin spice, of course, and either coconut milk or tofu I use to keep it firm. I mean, even Dandy's marshmallows are vegan. So, you can do your vegan desserts. It's just pecan pie can be made vegan. I do a great, if I say so myself, I do a great pecan pie. So, so many options. Just think of everything I've mentioned. You butternut squash, soup, you couldn't eat all this in 3 days, let alone one day. And so you certainly don't need turkey on top of that. And I love my stuffing. You don't have to have meat in your stuffing, but I always stick a little beyond in there. But I've got chestnuts and bread and sauteed onions and celery, and it's just so good. Yeah,
Sounds
it's just,
delicious.
I know. So I've always loved Thanksgiving. There's so much to love, except the turkey part of it. So I'm glad to see that more and more turkey products, plant-based turkey products are selling for the holiday season, just seeing
Yeah.
more and more options out there, which is great. And turkeys, they themselves as animals, they have such big personalities and they're so loyal and they're very much individuals, so they're really kind of fun animals. In fact, some people have told me that the favorite pets they've ever had in their lives, if they ever grew up on a farm, were the turkeys. So, yeah,
That's cute.
yeah, it's sweet. It's so very sweet. So, okay, everybody, you've got your marching orders, and please share all of this news. I will say that another thing that I like to do on Thanksgiving, when I'm keeping it vegan, I sometimes bring my own dishes. So if someone else has invited me to Thanksgiving, like my mother, and I know that maybe the vegan conversation hasn't really hit home for her, I just bring my own stuff. I just say, well, I've got mushroom risotto and I'm bringing it. And I've got sweet potatoes and cranberries and pecans and I'm bringing it. And that I know that I've got stuff to eat. So that
Yeah.
always helps me stay vegan. And then I sort of think, well, we're here to talk, like it or not, we've got hours with our family at the dinner table. So I bring up, the conversation of how turkey's not going to be for me and why. And so I do kind of use Thanksgiving as an opportunity to get into it a little bit with my family in a pleasant way, but it's an opportunity for me to hit it home. So I don't know if you guys ever end up talking about it, but
I think it's so different now than it was even, 3 or 5 years ago because
yes.
it vegan has become so much more mainstream that it's not that taboo thing anymore. If you talk about yourself being vegan, it's not people, people don't really say, "Oh my God," they don't do that anymore. It's more
Yeah.
like, "Really? Tell me about it. What are you doing, or what do you do for Thanksgiving?" And then you get the opportunity to talk about all these other ways that you can bring Thanksgiving to life without having to have a turkey. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I'll tell you a funny story. Last year, so I generally host Thanksgiving, of course, not this year, but I host Thanksgiving for our whole families, my husband's and my family, and it's usually about 20 to 25 people, depending on the year.
That's a
And
lot.
yeah, so because of Veestro, and of course I take advantage of that, last year I served our herb crusted turkey. So they're turkey breasts, and they look like chicken breasts, but they're covered in spices and panko, and they're delicious. I served them, and everybody had them, and nobody was the wiser. And at the end of the dinner, my mother-in-law said, "You have got to give me that recipe for those turkey breasts. They were delicious." So I said, I'll get it for you right now. And I went inside and I brought one of the packages, and I was like, "Here it is."
I love it. I'll get it for you right now. We've got,
Yeah,
1,000 of them just waiting to be delivered. Mom, I'll
everybody,
deliver you one.
absolutely. And everybody at the table was like, "What? No."
Oh, it's my favorite holiday pastime is blowing away people so that they
Yes,
just don't realize that it's not meat. We'll be right back on Plant-Based Life and Style. Oh, I love that story. That is so fun.
it was so fun.
Yeah, people are getting hip to the new way. It's so great. Hey, everybody, it's Plant Based Life and Style. I'm Elysabeth Alfano. Thanks for being with me today. I have Monica Klausner of Veestro.com. We are talking about ways to stay vegan during Thanksgiving. You do not need turkey. In fact, before the break, Monica was saying that her turkey breast from Veestro.com, which you can home deliver right to your door. And if you put in the code Alfano, you'll get 20% off. That turkey breast kind of fools everybody. So if you've got a bunch of meat eaters, order the vegan turkey breast. They will never know the difference.
Yeah, they had no idea. The texture is the same, the flavor. Actually, it's even more flavorful because the product that we use really soaks in the flavor that we marinated in. So it turned out delicious. So I highly recommend fooling your people, your family, and friends.
What's the base product of that plant-based turkey?
So we use a product that is made with wheat gluten and ancient grains.
Ooh.
So, and it has a little bit of soy protein. So it's actually a really delicious canvas, if you will. You can
Mm-hmm.
marinate it in a bunch of different ways, and you have a different meal every time. So it's not unlike chicken or turkey.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I also do a plant-based turkey breast, and I do it with wheat gluten as well, and
Mhm.
some chickpea flour and a little bit of red
Mm,
wine.
yum.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for sure. So okay, all this talk about people sort of accepting the concept more. I mean, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, people would talk to me about hugging trees and just like sort of making no sense. And in a way, I thought they were making fun of themselves, even though they were trying to make fun of me by sort of saying like, "Oh, I hope the planet implodes. You're so silly for caring about it." I mean, just like pointing out that I don't think trees should be destroyed. It was just weird. But anyway, I don't get those jokes anymore. In fact, now when it comes up, people say, "Oh, yeah, my niece is vegan." And, "Oh, yeah, I've tried it sometimes. It was good." And, "Oh, yeah, the other day I was at a party and they had some." So it's really just making its way, just like the news I read today, that's really making its way into the
Yeah.
mainstream. So it's making its way into the mainstream, but I'm wondering, since you kind of have your finger on the pulse of the consumer and what they're buying and why, I'm wondering what you'll say your predictions are for, let's say, the next 3 to 5 years out beyond, oh, more people will go vegan. I'm wondering if you have any more subtle thoughts on that.
That's actually a really good question. And, it's interesting because we're so busy with the day to day that sometimes it's hard to lift up our head and go, okay,
Right.
what's going to happen in the next 3 years? I think things are going to change drastically, and they're already changing because big companies are acquiring the smaller companies so that they can have a presence in the vegan world as
Mm-hmm.
well. And by doing that, they're actually allowing the food to reach a lot more people. So people in food deserts and areas of the country that perhaps don't have as much opportunity to find organic produce or vegan products or whatnot will be able to get all of
Yeah.
that. So I think there's going to be a big shift in the way people eat in the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that as well. And as much as hard as it is for sometimes people to wrap their minds around the role that meat and dairy can play here, those deep pockets and those established distribution lines really make a difference, because in the end, what good does it do if you can only get products to a couple stores in Miami and Atlanta if you're a plant-based company on the East Coast, or San Diego and San Francisco if you're a plant-based company on the West Coast? You really need door-to-door distribution right through Missouri, so you got to get it all. And it's hard. It's really hard to scale up to be a small company. Yeah, so I just couldn't agree with you more. I think these are really exciting times. As you look back, so you started Veestro in 2012, which, just again, hats off to you. As you look back to, say, right before you started Veestro, so let's say 10 years ago, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
About the business?
About anything in life, with the exception of like, oh, I wish I went vegan sooner. So I get that a
Of
lot.
course.
But what have you learned in the last 10 years that you say, gosh, I really wish I knew this then?
Boy, I've learned a lot. Um, One of the things that I wish I'd known back then was how things were going to change,
Mm-hmm.
including the pandemic, like how drastically things were going to change. I think we would have done things a little bit differently.
Mm.
Um, in the beginning, we sort of put plant-based and vegan in the back of our
Ah,
website. It wasn't very
mm,
front and center. Not that we were deceiving people, but it wasn't very clear that we were selling vegan food. We wanted
oh,
people to think about it as food and not as vegan food.
right.
And if I had known how drastically things would be changing, I think we would have put vegan up front and center a lot sooner.
Interesting. And kind of owned it sooner.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just that in and of itself. Like, what a remarkable change, when now it's like, oh my God, this huge badge of honor, rather than like, oh, let's not
Yes.
really call it out. It's just fascinating how quickly the world has changed. Um, is there a specific time that you remember, like, this happened and I said to myself, that's it, I'm going vegan and I'm never going back?
Well, that happened right before I started reading the China study,
Hmm.
because I had never met anybody who was vegan before.
Oh,
And it wasn't
wow.
really this is 10 years ago we're talking
Yes.
about. So it's like the
Yeah.
world has changed so much.
Yes. Right.
I I didn't know anybody who was vegan. I hadn't thought about it at all. But when my brother started talking to me about the way that he was eating, it made me pay attention to the way that we were eating at our home. And I realized that we were so far away from the way that I grew up eating. And I wanted to come back to that. And coming back to that meant a lot more fruits and vegetables and whatnot. So I started doing some research online and really found a whole community of people who ate that way. And I'm a facts kind of girl. I'm a science kind of girl. So for me, like the last straw was reading the China study, and that pushed me over the edge completely. I was convinced.
Yeah, I love this. So again, for those of you, if you haven't read the China study, Dr. T. Colin Campbell does research on different counties, areas in China. Some eat meat, some don't. And he then compares the two. And you can really see the difference of a meat-free diet and what that does for your health. And he really did some groundbreaking work there. So I can't recommend the China study enough. If you are running around and you're having a crazy day and maybe things aren't going the way you would like them to go, do you have a favorite phrase that you say to yourself?
I got this.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I got this.
Yes, when you really feel like, okay, well, that's good. So you're a business person, so you have that sort of powerful way of thinking. Okay, super fast. My very last question for you before we head out today. Okay, you're running around, you've got kids, you've got a business, you don't have time for lunch. What is your go-to snack?
My go-to snack is almonds,
Oh,
because I always feel full right after I eat them. And I don't have to eat a lot of them. I can eat a handful and I feel satiated. So yeah, almonds are always my go-to snack.
Okay, well, if almonds are not enough for you to get you through the day, go to vistro.com and order all that you need for the weeks ahead. And specifically, if you'd like to do a vegan Thanksgiving and you're just not sure what to do to feed those meat people who really want to have turkey, go to vistro.com and order yourselves a big, fat, great, healthy turkey dinner for everybody. People will never know that it's not meat. And of course, you can put in the code Alfano for 20% off. Monica, thank you for being with me today. I just love it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Veestro.com, everybody. I will see you all next week. Everybody on socials, bye to you. And Monica, stay put. Bye, everybody. See you next week.